Alright guys, just a little update here. I just want to caution you because it looks like I've become the expert of putting something on and having to take it back off because of other things that should have been done before I put them on. Valve covers, yeah, 8 times. Let's see, I put this thing on right here, the top of the intake plenum, right? And there's an electrical connector underneath it, yeah. It's almost impossible to get to it, but I was able to take this bolt out, move this out of the way, take some long, the squeezy thingies, you know, the needle nose, very long ones, grab a hold of it, twist it around, take a screwdriver, and in tandem work that thing up in there and click it in. Okay, so yeah, make sure that you're plugging in the electrical connection on this before you install it. I didn't want to take it back off because I put it on several times and had to take it off. Alright, so anyway, the distributor. Do not stick the distributor until, and you can't see it, but there's a connector back there that hooks up to the distributor. And it's like a 3 or 4 wire connector, one of those big GM type that pushes in with the rubber that around it to keep it from getting water in there. It's waterproof. Anyway, the bottom of that one is so short that if you don't stick that in when this is about a third of the way in, or maybe 2/3 of the way in, if you don't stick it right then and plug it in, you ain't getting it in. So I had to pull the distributor back out to take care of that. And then while I was back there, I found a broken vacuum line, which is the one that should have went right here. That goes to HVAC. That's what I'm reading everywhere. So I was able to run it in and around and under here. So with all that in there, it looks like all my vacuum holes are plugged up. Now if they're in the right place or not, I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see if we got some engine codes that I need to chase down, and at that point I will get out the manual and do troubleshooting and be able to tell what's not working right. Hopefully I don't get any. I might get lucky. But anyway, this thing right here, yeah, you can't really get to the distributor holder downer thingy right there without taking this out. So I had that out about 3 times. Yeah, I'm getting an expert at it. And then I decided to go ahead and put some sealant on it because it does have coolant coming through it. And this one right here will go on when I put this exhaust manifold on. But I had to get some studs to go in. One of them came out when I took the bolt out, so it was missing. So I had to go and get a new one. And there she is, right there. And they don't sell the regular hardened bolts anymore. Instead, they want to give you these, which is fine, I guess. But they're $2 a piece. Yeah, I like the old ones better. But anyway, because these are brass. Brass is not cheap. So yeah, that's what's going on with that. So I got all my bolts. I got a new set of exhaust studs. This is for the exhaust manifold on this side. I was missing the bolts for this side. I don't know why, but they were. Basically, one of these studs goes to hold this oil dipstick in, right here, against the manifold. And then there's another one that goes up here for the bracket, whatever bracket's right there. I suppose you're supposed to have one right there too. So I don't know how any of that works yet, the front of this. I got a whole box of stuff over here that I gotta somehow get installed on the front of this. Well, here's one of them right here, right there, and there's a hose there, and there's this thing, and yeah, and this thing right here that has something to do with the smog and the air pump and all that nonsense that I have to put back on, which I'd rather not, but it's got to pass emissions here in Tucson. So I'm trying not to change much. Yeah, so this side is pretty much good to go, but I'm pretty sure I got a brace that's going to go on one of these for some bracketry right here for the alternator. I think it goes on this one, but it might go on that one. I don't know. That's number 2. Yeah, I think that might be it. We'll see. Won't know till I try to get it all together. And so I got all the digitals and these hooked up, and this is going to the side of whatever you call this thing right here, you know, the sucker in the air thingy, blue blah right there. Yeah, it goes right there. And I got this mounted up. And oh yeah, folks, I want to tell you, every engine, taken apart or not, they want to tell you a story. The pieces want to talk to you. And if you'll listen, you'll find out a lot about them. And the reason I say that is because this right here, see this bottom one right here? This and that were over here, and the bottom wasn't attached to it, but it belonged there. And I'm like, hey, why aren't you with your friends? So I put it back on there. Well, then I try to mount it up, and I realized the reason that was not attached, right, that's why it was off, was because you had to thread it under these runners. So it was trying to talk to me, but I wasn't listening. So just keep your ears peeled for what the engine or whatever you're working on is trying to tell you, and it'll make your life a lot easier. So we're going to try and install the exhaust manifold on the passenger side over there and get on with this thing. So got most of this stuff on here. Got this bracketry on. All the vacuum lines that I could find go somewhere. This one will go to the that thing that goes on the front, you know, throttle body, whatever you call it. Most of the wires, well, all of them are plugged in everywhere they need to go except for the distributor. And I've done that because I don't want it to start right away. I want to get some oil up there first. And but at any rate, that's where we're at, and here's what we got left. So now I just got to figure out where all this stuff goes. That looks like the bracket for the air pump, and I don't know, maybe that's alternator, I don't know, have no idea. I mean, we know what that is. It goes on the front of the motor there. There's one of these pulleys here, I don't know. Then there's an alternator, and there's this weird thing here that goes on something. I have no idea what that is. Well, I guess we'll find out sooner or later. Then we have this stuff over here, and that's something to do with that small pump stuff. Then we have the tensioner that's bolted on this big old bracket right here. We have that stuff down there. That's the air pump, which doesn't have a pulley on it, which I'm assuming is right there, maybe. And that's something to do with the small air pump stuff too. So yeah, and that goes for the air cleaner and all that. So I just have to, and the AC compressors right there, I just have to figure out how this goes back together. That's it. No big deal. Oh, there's another pulley. Yeah. So I got one pulley. One of them's got to be the water pump, right? Then the other one should be for that air pump right there. And there was a big disc that goes on the water pump, but I'm not putting it back on. It's a big 10-pound damper disc that is a waste of space pretty much. But yeah, I just got to figure out how to do this at some way or another. So we're just going to dive in and start from one side and start trying to figure this stuff out, see what happens. Alright, so I got all this mocked up and it looks like I know where everything goes. Whoo, what a mess that was. So basically this goes right there, goes on that bracket right there, okay, and then this, whatever this thing is, something to do with the air pump, it goes on that, goes down there, it goes on that same bracket right there. See those two holes right there? So it goes on here and it comes up to this thing right here, which is something to do with the smog slash air pump thingy. And then this thing comes like that, and that one also goes on the same thing right there, and it attaches over there. And so that's how those go, and I'll show you when it gets it all together, when I get it all together, so you can take a good look at it in case you're having to go through this too. And then I was about to put this bracket on here, the air conditioner bracket, and get that bottom water pump hose hooked up. And then I realized that this hose right here, I was having problems getting it on. And then I was like, yeah, that looks a little bit degraded. And where that's at right there, I was like, I don't think it's going to be a good idea to put that old one on right there. So I went ahead to the parts store and got a new one. So I'm going to put that one on. Because once that air compressor, or the AC compressor's on and all that kind of stuff, I will never be able to get to that. So I went ahead and did the right thing and got some new hose. And so that's where we're at right now. I'm going to go ahead and install this and install this bracket permanently and find some bolts and try and get this thing all put together. And once I do, then I'll take a good video of the front of it and show you what's happening here. You can see this bracket down here. That goes to the AC compressor, right? So once it gets on here, or no, actually it goes right there. Once this is on there, it bolts into that too. And you need to have these braces on, because if you don't, this engine will, it'll break these brackets. It'll break that one, it'll break this one up here. You got to have the brace on this one too, and I'll show you where it goes when we get to it. But if you don't have them on there, these things will crack. So just remember that. Alright, so here we go. Progress on the C4 Corvette. Okay, so I pretty much got everything up here done. I got the wiring done. Got the spark plugs gapped at 35. And so for Chevrolet, everybody should know the firing order starts at number 1 right here. Number 1's always right here. You look at the front of your distributor, it's the one on the right, on the front. So it goes clockwise fashion: 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. So that's how others should run right there. So I got all these, I got this plugged in, the distributor, the tack, battery, whatever that is. Got that little thing tightened right there. You can tell. And now see this, I don't know if this is the kick down or the throttle, but one of these goes through these tubes and the other two go on top. There's supposed to be a little clamp right here that holds them. I don't know what happened to mine. I don't know if it was on there when I took it off or not, but it doesn't really matter. It's not going to hurt anything. So I'm not worried about that. So I got that on, got the throttle taken care of. All the injectors, you can see crankcase ventilation right here. I got my bracket right here for the air pump. Alright, and so over here I got a bracket on the alternator, and that's one of those exhaust bolts you get from O'Reilly's. They're brass, basically. They don't rust on and where you can't get them off, that kind of stuff. And I also got some wire looms. I got these from Summit, okay, and they are basically smoothies, and it comes with more than you need. I put the 4 right here and then 2 here, because the way these are run, they usually come around down here through here and stuff like that, and I didn't really like that, so I got this instead, and I think it looks pretty neat, and it'll keep them from getting frosted, yeah, and baked and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see about that. So we'll come around over here. Let me get to the other side. And so you can see, got the AC compressor on. They said there's supposed to be a bracket down here, and I had an extra bracket, but I could make it fit anywhere. So I just pretended like it didn't exist and did the right thing. There's the wire looms over here. I got the smog pump crap right here. Got that on there. I got this thing bolted on. Okay, there's a lot of stuff to this car. If you're gonna take one of these apart, do yourself a favor. Take pictures every second of the way, because I like to never figure out how to put all this crap back together. This is a throttle position sensor. These bolts right here, you do not want to lose them, okay? Because there's no such thing as finding new ones. Alright, so this bottom one's the correct one. This one is a bolt that's close, but ain't really this thing. So I tighten this one up, and this one kind of holds to keep it from moving, right? So it's close enough, that'll be fine. We'll go with that. And there's a replacement stant oil cap that looks like a Japanese replacement. Yeah, whatever. So moving on. So I did notice I got the airfoil on here already. Somebody did that. So that means they were playing with this thing and probably driving it too hard. And so when you look down here, see this brace that goes across here to the air conditioner pump? If you don't put these braces on, these aluminum brackets are gonna break on you, okay? So there's supposed to be 2 on that side and 3 on this side, the passenger side. And I could only fit 2 on the passenger side. I can't find out where the other one goes, and I'll find out if it causes any problems. But I did put all the bolts on the front, and I got rid of the disc on the water pump. They say it gives you more horsepower, and it was some kind of dampening device. But basically, when I did that, I put washers on, okay, to take up the space. I don't think it was bottoming out, but I wanted to make sure, and they are lock washers, and I used blue Loctite on those, okay? So I got the serpentine belt on. I pretty much have everything on, even the coolant tank back on. I used CLR to clean that out. I soaked it in it. I gotta tighten some of these up yet, but this thing has coolant hoses running everywhere, okay? Again, if you're gonna take one apart, take pictures, because it's gonna be a nightmare, I promise you. And so I got these back on, all these, this one, right? And I also did the coolant bypass. And if you don't know what that is, you got coolant that runs through your throttle body. Right there's one of the places it goes through, and then it comes out over here, under here. You can't really see that right there. But basically just unplug that and take the one out of the intake right here. You can see that right there. I don't know if the light's good enough. But I put a 90-degree on it, and then I came up and I got one of those joint things and just hooked it to this, all right? And so I tried to route this under here, but you can see it's so congested right here, there is nowhere to put it. So I just put it up there, and that looks like it's gonna be fine. I'll probably zip tie something or another. I don't want it to get on the throttle position sensor and mess it up, but I don't think it will. But at any rate, just so you know, that bottom radiator hose on the C4, it's a pain in the butt, okay? So I changed the hose, and the new hose didn't have this covering on it. So I cut my old hose off, and I pulled this covering off and put it on there, because if you'll see, it goes right over this frame rail right here, and it's going to be pressing on it. And so I thought having that extra mesh on there was going to keep it from basically grinding through. Do that if you have it on there. So now all I got to do is put the radiator in, mount it up, and this thing is pretty much ready to start. Hopefully I stuck the distributor correctly, and basically what I did when I stuck the distributor was I got number 1 up, and they say you can put your finger on where the spark plug is and cover it up, and when it comes up you'll hear a psst, and that means it's a compression stroke when it comes up. but I couldn't get my finger all the way in there because the angle. So what I used was one of those, the compression tester that you screw in there, and I put my finger over that, and when it came up, it went psst. I was like, okay, so that's the compression stroke. So then I lined up my mark down there, which you can't see from here, right dead on top, dead center, and I made sure that this one, it was pointing at that one to fire, okay? So basically, your number one's right there, it's pointing to that, right? And so then I stuck the distributor in and made sure that when it went all the way down, that it was pointing to number one. And then I wired it 18436572. And basically, when I took this apart, there were vacuum lines that I touched, and they just went and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I had to rebuild all that. There was one way back there, there was 2 or 3 over there, there's one still I haven't attached yet, but it comes over here and goes under. You can see it right here, that one. And that one goes to the canister over there. And basically, I had to just get a kit and some vacuum lines, and I had to rebuild it. So, you know, I don't know exactly where everything goes, but I followed the vacuum hose routing, and I got the EGR right, I'm pretty sure, which is under there. And I'm pretty sure I got it right now. I just got to cut this one and hook it here, because that goes to the canister, which on the 1990 is under here, the charcoal canister. So it goes to that thing right there. That's some kind of solenoid or some sort. I forget what it's called. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I got all the vacuum lines plugged up, so when it starts, hopefully won't have anything going psss or anything like that. If I get a code, then I'll chase the code down, and I might have to change my vacuum routing because I don't know exactly where everything went, but it's like, okay, I got this one right here, and yeah, I don't know where this one goes. It's just kind of hanging out. So I'm going to plug that in somewhere, probably, because it goes to something that should be right here somewhere. So I'll go ahead and figure that one out. But anyway, all we're lacking right now is my battery's not great. I did charge it up, and it flew down the next day. I did turn it over to get some oil into the engine because it's been sitting for a while, and then I remembered that when you do that, it's going to shoot transmission fluid out of one of your lines because they're not attached to the radiator. So I stopped that. So now I'm going to put the radiator in and hook those lines up, and hopefully with the timing right, and you know, I stuck the distributor right and all this other stuff right, I will be able to start this thing soon. But we'll see.